students at some of the most prestigious and expensive universities in America getting an education they and their parents did not foresee and did not want. It involves rats, fire hazards, and lawsuits. ABC's Gio Benitez reports from Boston on what some have called the college rental ghettos.
So you had a lot of fun times on this block, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Like many college kids, Josh Goldenberg was excited about his newfound freedom after moving off campus in his sophomore year at Boston University.
I just think about the major impact that place had on my life.
But while the house looks immaculate today, Josh says back in 2012, it was very different when he lived there.
It looked broken down. It was a mess. You know, it's not kept up.
Josh's father, David, was alarmed too.
The place was clearly not maintained, but we didn't want to hover and helicopter too much over Josh.
Josh was asleep in his cramped attic room when a fire broke out on a January morning in 2012.
Austin, okay, and you say your house is on fire?
Yes, completely.
Josh was trapped in the attic as the house was engulfed in flames. He says with no other way out, he jumped from his third-floor window.
I know I hit the ice on the driveway.
Josh spent 2 weeks in a coma, and he says he still suffers the effects of major head trauma.
I still have double vision because of it.
While the cause of the fire was never determined, Josh sued the landlord, alleging the house was illegal, unfit, and unsafe. The case was settled out of court with no admission of wrongdoing. In Boston, there are thousands of college kids like Josh who decide to move into off-campus housing, looking for independence or to save money on sky-high dorm costs. But all too often, students say they can be taken advantage of by unscrupulous landlords.
They must have been like soldering.
Many say that here in Boston, they're subject to decrepit, rundown housing.
This is our bathroom, and this is what we moved into. It's disgusting.
These disturbing images were captured by the Boston Globe, part of an investigation that scandalized the city over a year ago.
The rats are disgusting. They're bigger than my kittens.
I saw it crawling out of the toaster. I almost threw up.
I mean, it was pretty appalling, the conditions that we saw these students living in.
These kids are spending a lot of money to go to some very expensive schools, and yet some of them are living with rats and bed bugs and locks that don't lock.
It doesn't stay shut.
Of course, many of us remember living in some pretty grungy digs during our college days, but as the Globe investigation uncovered, the real concern is potential safety issues and landlords who are allegedly slow to fix the problems.
We use the stove to heat our place during the winter since the heating didn't work.
There's this door, which there's no lock that works on it and goes directly towards the outside.
We tried to open the window once and kind of figured this out. Yep.
There were exits that were blocked, smoke detectors that weren't there, electrical wires exposed. Students were crammed into these dangerous conditions.
When asked about the Globe's footage, 2 landlords declined to comment. Another claimed he was unaware of the problems and said he would find a better property manager. Should they be living in conditions like that?
Absolutely not, and the mayor has been very adamant about it, that he wants the student experience here not to be about their living residence.
Austin fights. We're getting people out right now.
The wake-up call for the city came after a tragic case of deja vu. Just a year after Josh's accident, the house across the street at 87 Linden also caught on fire because of careless smoking. Over a dozen students crammed into the house, desperately trying to get out. 2 of them on the upper floor jumped to a lower rooftop to escape the flames. But in the corner attic room, 1 student is trapped.
Does anyone know where Finland is?
22-year-old Boston University senior Bindlin Lee never made it out. The body of the bright, promising marine science major was later found in her room. When you heard about the fire, what were you thinking? That poor girl.
That poor girl. Yeah, I was thinking it could have been me.
As Bindlin's Brooklyn family and her friends gathered in grief, attention turned to the conditions in the house. No criminal charges were filed, but Bindlin Lee's family sued the property owner, Anna Belakarova, alleging the house lacked a second upstairs exit and had a faulty fire alarm system. Belakarova declined to talk to ABC News, but her attorney strongly denied that the conditions of the house were connected to Lee's death.
The city is very ineffective at monitoring and policing these landlords.
Even if the kids are savvy enough to complain to city authorities, they can delay the repairs and string it along until the kids are ready to move out.
Now, rundown off-campus student housing isn't just a problem in Boston.
This gnarly
area of tiles.
It was easy for us to find students complaining about living in squalid conditions in Philadelphia, another big college town. Cool college room, but you look a little closer and you see a mousetrap over there. You see a glue pad over there right next to your bed.
Next to where I sleep, where my head rests.
But in Philly, some kids are fighting back against their landlords in just the way you'd expect, online.
A lot of times we live with those matters just because we feel like we have to.
Ofo and Felix, two enterprising recent grads, have started a sort of Yelp for college housing. Now students can rate their landlords, share their horror stories, and post prominent warnings to tenants.
What needs to happen is people just start not accepting those things.
Take a gander at that. That is mouse feces.
Temple University student Angelica Gibbs says her landlord ignored her repeated requests to fix the problems.
There's nothing up here. As you can see, there's chain and lock on the windows. That's not a way out.
But while the average student might give up in sheer frustration, not this aspiring law student.
This isn't a safe place to be, and it's, again, unacceptable.
At first, Angelica tried the tactic of withholding rent. She says that when that failed, she took her battle to City Hall, filing a complaint against her landlord. Housing inspectors found a number of safety violations, including missing carbon monoxide detectors, a broken fire alarm box, and improperly barred windows. Angelica's gambit worked. While the landlord blamed the tenants for the problems and said they didn't pay rent, she did fix the violations.
The ultimate goal is to help someone else so they don't have to deal with it.
Meanwhile, in Boston,
dozens of city inspectors have been canvassing the Alston Bright.
There are signs of positive change in the wake of the Globe's investigation.
We have found 120 housing violations.
The new mayor has led a crackdown where every single student dwelling is being inspected. Sadly, many students have already received a costly education in the harsh realities of off-campus housing.
Does anyone know where Finland is?
The death of Binlin Lee will be a lesson they will never forget, as her young life was cut brutally short in the attic of a Boston rooming house. For Nightline, I'm Gio Benitez in Boston.